you are watching Amena Art, and today we are with our artist Amena K here and talking about her piece Temptation.
Hello everyone, my name is Amena and I'm the artist of Temptation, and today we're going to go over the backstory and little fine details that you might not know about it.
Yeah, so starting off, do you want to tell us a little bit more on why the name Temptation?
So if you don't know the time frame, let me tell you the time frame I actually painted this. So I painted it this year, so we're in 2025, and it was just at the very cusp of becoming spring. It was still very much winter, but we were coming, I think we were only a few ways away till the spring transition at the physical gallery, because we had a well, technically we still do up until next month, but we have a gallery that we need to start changing out the artwork and putting in more of like the next season collection. And so in thinking of transition through the seasons, I was thinking, well, what feelings invoke, spring to me? And so I was thinking, well, in the spring, there's a lot of animals that mate, right? And so we're thinking it's mating season, there's going to be a lot of animals. So what kind of things, when I think of, spring, do I want to pull from? Because a lot of in fact, all of my art, I have to have some kind of emotional connection to it, or it has to be something that means something to me before I get excited enough to paint it. And so I was like, well, I always felt like large cats were always very, very masculine, right? Or you could say just very, confident. And I wanted to make a big confidence piece. And so I was like, well, I want to make another big cat. And I was thinking, I've always wanted to make a tiger, but I have made a tiger before, so I didn't want to go that direction. That one is a more calming tiger. I wanted a more masculine, muscular tiger. And so I was like, okay, so I was like, masculine tiger. I was like, how am I going to present this, right? Because I just don't want, what are you just going to stick a tiger there in a field? And I was like, I need to have it do something. And so I was like, well, I've always, remember those documentaries, maybe, you grew up watching, or maybe, your family watches now. And they always have this scene of like the Sahara Desert or something, and all these animals are drinking at this water, right? And there's always like that one close-up of this animal like, leaning into the water and lapping up, some water at some point.
Every single one I think I've ever seen has that in the safari, that they have to have it at the water, and you see all the animals huddled around it.
Yeah, so it's a very iconic thing, and it kind of reminded me of all those documentaries that we used to watch all the time. So I was like, I want it to be like a gathering place, right? Because how else are they going to learn where to go to mate, right? So they have to meet somewhere. So they're meeting at this, I'm envisioning this thing, like they're meeting at this watering hole, and, and this tiger, he's big muscular because he's been eating all winter or something, and so he's like crouching into the water, and then he just subtly looks up and see his mate, right? And so, here he is, licking up the water, and spots somebody in the distance that catches his eye. So we've also got another very symbolic image here, and maybe you can tell what that is.
Roses.
It's actually not roses.
Oh, it's not roses for once. It's the same colors that she does roses in.
It is.
She always does it in this particular color. Huh. If it's not roses, I'm not sure then.
These are peonies.
Oh, the peonies.
So those big, fluffy roses that you'll see in like more of like an English garden. We've seen them at the botanical garden.
True, yes.
But they're only blooming in the springtime. But they're very visually stunning. They come in an array of different like pinks and whites, and I think they even come in like the cream colors. But I wanted to play more into the springtime, since peonies only bloom in spring, and they're bright and beautiful, and there seems to be like a lot of them when they do come out. So that's what I put into this water. First I was gonna do lilies, but I was like, it's a desert. I don't want to go too off of like what I was going for. So I was just like
flowers is a little bit off still, but like if you put lily pads and
Yeah,
stuff into it, then it gets really far off.
I wasn't, it didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Like, the story doesn't lean toward, like, tranquility.
Yeah.
And when I'm thinking lilies, I'm thinking something more tranquil, which leans then more into my other tiger painting.
Tranquil, greenery, all that type of stuff.
Very green, and I didn't want no green, because green invokes tranquility. Yeah. And reds and pinks is more like seductive for me. Like, when you think of a bright red lipstick, you think of something more seductive, something that you might go out on a fine dinner and on a date or something, or a red high heel, right? Or a pink high heel. It's more feminine. So I've got a very masculine, bold creature here. And then I've got a very feminine flower.
That's really, it makes a lot of sense when you look at those two things and why it's called temptation. Especially when it's looking directly at you. But definitely, you can see it all. And you already went into, obviously, a little bit of backstory on why you chose a tiger and stuff, which makes sense. You have a history, and everyone basically, if you've ever seen any type of safari, like wildlife footage, you usually see one of those scenes. Especially in the springtime. They love to bring it up in the springtime.
They do.
But definitely has a lot of history. It went into flowers and stuff. So do you want to go into a little bit more of the stylization here? Because I remember you had a little bit of a tough time with the lines actually on this one.
So if you guys realize, you probably do obviously, that tigers have a lot of stripes, right? Naturally they have stripes, but also I had to play in the fact that's very muscular. So showing the shading of the muscles and with the stripes became very difficult to try to figure out what to shadow, what to like kind of leave out, what to kind of like bring in. And so I had a challenge for a little while to figure out exactly how I was going to do that. But I actually really love how it turns out. So I actually intentionally shaded some spaces that originally my footage that I was looking at to get the inspiration didn't have the shading. It was literally just like no shade, but of course with like an actual photo of a tiger, you're gonna still have the dimensions, but I had to translate it into paint and a very flat surface and making it look more dimensional. And of course I don't do realism, so I had to translate it into my style too. So I intentionally added shadows and I really like where I place them. So if you guys really like pause and zoom in, you could see this side of the face is more like purple and blues, and this is more vibrant yellows and creams and oranges. And same with his body. I chose like a more of a yellow where the sun would hit, and then maybe the sun's coming up over. So I wanted to make that the brightest part of his body, where you can see there's a very bright oranges up there. And so it goes very bright oranges to kind of like a subtle creamy oranges to very bright on his face, because I wanted you to really, look at him and his face, but then very shadowed on this side. And same with this leg. You can see the shadow starts coming in. It gets darker and darker and darker as it's like getting behind these flowers. And same with that shoulder. I did the same with that. I wanted it to be there, but I didn't want you to really focus on it. So I had to darken that a little bit as well. So think of it like maybe it's got a little shade from another creature that's standing by it or something. But it ended up really nice once I started figuring out where exactly I was going to place the shadows.
Yeah, and you can definitely, once you start looking at it, you can definitely see why she had a little bit of struggle with this one. You can also see a little bit of this undertone of blue as well, which I remember at a point, this is just a fun fact, it was blue. Actually, for a quick minute, it was all blue. And this was when she was starting to do the basic lines.
Yeah, and actually, what she means with blue, the actual tiger was all blue. So it actually gave a really cool effect, because not only was the tiger blue, but everything else was blue too. So it's kind of like monochromatic, like some of my other artworks are very just one, like, I don't want to say one color because they're not one color.
It's like,
they're like, but they're all like so close together that it's only like one shade, like, and it blends in nicely. You can still tell the difference, but it's all one shade initially. And so it was all blue. This whole thing was blue at one time. And people loved it, but I was like, it's not staying blue. I just don't know exactly what I want to do yet to the top. So it stayed blue for a good month or so before I really decided what I was going to mix up for the shading and the other colors. But there's another reason why you want to essentially do another color that's opposite underneath the main color you want to do. And I'll tell you, maybe any of you guys are wanting to look to do painting or just any arts in general.
Curious in general.
Yeah, or just curious in general. Is because what it does is it provides like depth to your artwork, because you can still see it. If you look close, you can still see the shades of blue throughout, and it just makes it visually appealing. Because otherwise, without that, it would look very, very flat.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you add outlines to things, but when you're painting and stuff, obviously you do it and then you just layer on top. Very gorgeous though, and you can really see it throughout. It's just a fun little fact. Very interesting. But anyways, do you want to add anything on that they might not realize or that you just want to mention?
I think the only thing on this one, we were talking about signatures in the last one and how it was very different from my normal signature. This one's kind of different too, because I kind of made it look like water. If you don't notice it, it's right here. And I wanted it to just kind of be like kind of like when, steamed glass, when something's like has steam and you actually were to write on it, you've got that imprint on it. And so I wanted to do that with the signature. And so it ended up pretty cool. It looks like, somebody just took some wet, paint, like water, and just kind of just kind of wrote it on there.
Like, oh, it just was like a little steamy. I just, signed it my name. That's it. Yeah, it's probably a nice effect for that one, which I don't think you commonly do that at all.
Never did that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She's done a lot of things with her signatures before.
Yeah.
If you can't tell.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah. Very neat, very lovely, and overall, really interesting and nice story there. So that was Temptation. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you for sharing all of this glorious art and story with us.
You're welcome.
For everyone watching, just so you know, you're watching Amena Art, and obviously, thank you. If you are interested in seeing more, make sure that you follow the page, like, and we do actually have more coming and more already published, so you can see all the collections we already have. But thank you again for watching, and goodbye.